First video without a script. All right, we're going over the day one of Crota's End loadout. I got a couple of builds listed here, and we'll go briefly over them, of course. But for the majority of this raid, to my knowledge, there's only one boss, and it's Crota. Everything else is just ad clear and taking out some like extremely beefy dudes or whatnot. So starting off with this build, is just gonna be standard Falcons, Void Hunter paired with Graviton Lance. Pulses did just get a buff along with hand cannons this season, at least I believe so. Someone in my clan has been telling me that. Don't quote me on it, but nonetheless, even if Pulses didn't get a buff, Graviton Lance is still one of the most solid options for a Falcons build. It's just explosions compounding. Heritage, just for the beefier guys, of course. You always got to have a special on you. One would say to go double special, but that's just not really a thing anymore, obviously. Not technically is still a thing, but you know, you'd be hindering yourself a little bit. Starting off our first options, it's really always just a good idea that if you are a hunter on your raid team, just pack Malfeasance along with a pair of Lucky Pants. I don't foresee myself actually using this in the raid, but you really honestly never know what's going to happen in these types of deals. I'm also going to be packing Arbalist because in this raid it was leaked that there's going to be champions here, and there's only going to be one champion in this raid, and it's going to be anti-barriers. So that paired with, you know, I do have the anti-barrier auto rifle and, you know, Quicksilver Storm for one of my other builds if I'm not going to be going in with Void. But we're going to get into subclass just a little bit later. Riptide is always just an awesome option to have, especially with Chill Clip, as a crowd control viability to it, as well as just melts yellow bars pretty relatively quickly. Why I have boss spec on it, zero idea, unless I'm be facing some bosses. To be honest, I don't even remember the last time I took this into a boss phase. Izanagi's is actually going to be my secondary option. We're stepping into Crota's area now when we're doing some boss damage, but my first choice is going to be but my first choice for, you know, boss damage for me would be Witherhoard, but saying that I'm a hunter, there's actually only 2 hunters on my team and the rest are warlocks. There's a high chance that I'm not even going to be able to use this. So I do have Izanagi's here just for my backup. Huckleberry was here because I was doing a DSC earlier, and that is the only reason why that's here. So we're just going to quickly get rid of that. So yeah, Huckleberry, don't need it. Moving on to the energy slot, of course, we've already went over Graviton Lance. That is going to be my primary option, but Sunshot is, you know, I'm definitely looking at this thing. Like, there's a good chance. It did get a hand cannon buff, and it is a monster these days, especially with solar builds, but I'm going to be on probably Void for the majority of this. I am the designated tether for my team. But yeah, unlike Pulsers, where I'm not really sure if they got a buff this season, I am 100% sure that hand cannons did get a buff, so I'll be having that. Path of Least Resistance is always just a really great weapon to have on you. This is for double special only, but then again, that is like a coin toss. You know, double specials aren't where they used to be, obviously, so good chance I don't touch it, but still. Cartesian Coordinate is just a solid go-to. If I'm going to be using a primary in my kinetic slot, then obviously Cartesian or Forbearance will be my second go-to. It depends on the ratio between like Thrall versus Knights, yellow bars versus red bars in the encounter that I'm in. Which brings me to Forbearance, which, you know, for the first encounter, where it's just a bunch of Thrall in a dark room, this is probably going to be a very good option to start with. That is, if I'm not using this and your Falcons. Right? That alone, on top of my entire team running Sun Bracers, we're probably not going to have too many problems there. Nation of the Beast, this is a primary option for my energy slot, and you know, I do have a video coming up about this pretty soon, but this thing single-handedly dethroned Aikilos for me. Like, the hand cannon buff plus this thing rolls with Volt Shot. This is a very top contender of if you're wanting a Volt Shot-ish weapon for ad clearing. Nation of the Beast, it's got my win for right now. It's not crafted, but you know, that will be crafted soon, and definitely be making a video about it. Risk Runner, one of my teammates brought up an idea that Thrall actually do elemental damage when they melee you. They do arc damage when they melee you. And yeah, so yeah, for an ad clear majority raid, this is probably going to be very nice to have. And then for, you know, encounters like the bridge encounter where you need like to snipe stuff across the bridge, probably will just be swapping Heritage out with a Succession. It's not on me right now, but it is on a backup character where I could just quickly hot swap it over to the Hunter. Benora's Axe, this is because Crota, from what I remember, you're able to get pretty close to him. Not that that was an option in D1 that you really wanted to do, but in D2, You know, I see no problem with getting up in his face, double slugging it. One of my clan members did bring up a double pellet type deal, so you know that might be an option as well to go down. But for right now, I only have the mindset that if I'm using slugs for DPS or shotguns for DPS, it's going to be double slug until they really twist my arm. Moving on to the heavies, we have the Eager Edge sword. I almost honestly looking at this weapon, I completely forgot it had a name that was not Eager Edge. The other half, but I think we all know why we have this. It's just faster to move around. It gives you a little bit more freedom. If you jump off a cliff on accident, you can just swing back onto the cliff. Yada yada. Speedrun strats, we all know it. Tractor cannon, I'm gonna be real with you, I don't know why I have this on my hunter. If we run tractor cannon, it is because I am not on void, but then again, that would be like a severe drop in my damage if I were to go with tractor cannon versus, you know, Apex Predator rocket launchers, right? All right, now we're going into a territory where, so with Parasite and Legend of Acreus as well, it came up with the idea of if we are able to get right up in Crota's face. Lament was the very first option that everyone on my team brought up, but Lament is kind of dead set in the middle between Legend of Acreus and Parasite. If the damage phase is sizable, it doesn't have to be even too long, just sizable. Legend of Acreus is just the hands down best weapon you can even choose for this guy to begin with, you know? But if the damage phase is shorter than sizable, you know, then it would just be better to go Parasite. And this strat is actually one of the main ones that we've been discussing, that Apex rockets, we're probably not even gonna touch them. They're here because we might be touching them. There's a very solid chance that we're touching our, you know, Apexes. But Legend of Acreus right up on Crota might not be too bad of an idea. Why you see a linear here? Zero idea. I think it's just because I'm mentally still stuck in a linear meta, though I know I haven't even touched it in so long. But I've honestly, ever since Valve the Disciple, I've honestly just never taken this out of my hunters. It's just been in here permanently. Commemoration, this is just a basic eye clear. It is a very solid machine gun. And saying that, you know, there's only one boss in this raid, a machine gun paired with maybe double special won't be the worst idea under the sun, especially since, you know, if you're holding a heavy killing enemies, it will spawn you more special rather than reverse. You know, specials no longer really spawn that much heavy. Spawn like a brick every 83 kills, something G minor said. Right? Cold Comfort, this one, you're probably laughing at this one when you're looking at it. But yes, I have farmed. Hold on, I'm actually gonna show you here real quick. Yeah, as you can see, I have been farming Cold Comfort for as long as the dungeon's been out, and yeah. I still do not have the god roll, but this isn't the worst option either. You know, I think the Envious Assassin is like the main go-to that you really want on this rocket, so you could just stack 4 rockets up and then just let them loose. It's not going to be as peak as bait and switch, but it is pretty damn close. Xenophage is just nice for ad clear, believe it or not. It's not for the red bars, it is for the yellow bars. This thing will just one shot any knight that we're gonna come across, you know, won't even have to deal with them, not even a second thought, moving on. I foresee this being the bridge encounter, just, you know, sniping a knight from across the chasm or whatnot. Now, instead of boring you with all this armor, I'm actually just gonna go over my builds and let them speak for themselves. So with me removing my camera, I'll tell you what I would have gone for my first damage phase. It would have been this: Star Eater scales up until damage starts, pop your super, and then I hot swap over to Foe Tracer for that 72% boost in damage. It's highly unfortunate as today, when I'm making this video, they disabled Foe Tracer for the raid, so this isn't gonna be my damage option anymore, which also plays into the fact that I am now the designated tether. So stepping in, this would be my opening encounter type build. It would be Gert Falcons, obviously, and it would be Night Stalker. Deadfall, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. People are sleeping on Deadfall. I know the quote-unquote casuals aren't sleeping on Deadfall, but if I could tell you how many times I get flamed for using Deadfall tether for ad clearing, it will astound you. This thing is actually pretty good for ad clear, but believe it or not, you know, obviously this is not going to be my damage build. My damage build is looking somewhat similar. I didn't I didn't alter the weapons, so you're going to see some of my ad clear weapons in here. But it's going to be Orpheus rigs with the solar surges and then just deadfall as well. Now, this is an experimental build here. This isn't something I'm going to rely on too much, but it could definitely come in handy. I'm going to be using, however you say this helmet's name, Facade. So while I'm just using Facade to gain increased resilience, my goal will be to use Whirling Maelstrom as much as possible to pair, honestly, with my other team's Sun Bracers. The first idea was to go Arc Hunter and then just do combination blows because that ad clear is God tier. But if I'm fighting for that many kills for Solar Warlocks with Sun Bracers on, I'm probably not going to get too far with that. So I just thought the occasional me picking up a Tangle every time I kill an ad and then just throw it into the field to help out with the Sun Bracers would be just a nice addition for the field. And that's pretty much it. It's very highly unfortunate that Foe Tracer got disabled for the raid. There's actually so much getting disabled for the raid. Oh my goodness, they're disabling reserve mods. I don't even understand why that one's going on, but you know, they must know something I don't, I guess. I will be streaming my day 1 here live on YouTube, so I hope to see some of you guys there. Peace.